Hello everyone and welcome to my GH Full channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. The tension in Port Charles had been building for months. Ever since a rainy September night in 2025 when Congressman Cain was discovered bleeding on the floor of his own living room, 2 bullets lodged in his back. Everyone from the Quartermaine to the Corinthoses, from the police to the press, was obsessed with figuring out who pulled the trigger. Willow Tait Cain, Drew's loving wife, faced trial for the crime. Her life dissected in public as she struggled to prove her innocence. She had sworn an oath that she loved Drew, that he had saved her from despair, and that she would never hurt him. Nonetheless, evidence accumulated. Her presence near the scene, her access to a pistol, and her deteriorating demeanor under duress. Drew, still healing from his wounds, had no distinct memory of that fateful night. Rain slamming against windows, a shadowy figure, a piercing crack of gunfire, but nothing definite. He held firmly to Willow, publicly supporting her, and accusing Michael Corinthos of being the genuine culprit. His court testimony was explosive. His voice shaking with wrath as he accused his nephew of jealousy-fueled assault. "You're going to rot in prison," he hissed, his gaze fixed on the gallery where Michael sat. The jury observed, moved by his conviction and pain. Willow on the stand had echoed his sentiments, tears in her eyes as she spoke of their love and the children she tried to protect. However, in quiet moments, flashbacks betrayed her. Her hand on the rifle, the recoil drew crumpling. She did it to recover her life, to escape his tyranny and isolation. Even she questioned whether the recollections were real or a broken nightmare caused by shame and trauma. Following closing arguments, the verdict was quickly reached, not guilty. Willow's fans cheered as Drew drew her into a tight embrace, whispering promises of a fresh start. The courtroom emptied, but the air was dense with unanswered questions. Trina Robinson and Kai Taylor had put together the truth from a simple ringtone. "Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star," the song Willow played for WY that echoed through Drew's house that night. Despite sharing their discovery with Alexis Davis, the acquittal stood. Willow is now protected by double jeopardy. In the days that followed, Drew insisted on celebrating. He arranged a romantic retreat to a secluded cottage in the mountains where they could reconnect away from Port Charles's prying eyes. Willow hesitated, her grin forced, but she accepted, hoping the distance would silence the sounds in her head. They drove up in quiet, the winter landscape blurring by and snow beginning to sprinkle the roads. Drew laid his hand on her knee. Possessive but compassionate. "We've beaten the odds," he replied softly. "No more secrets." The cabin was warm with a blazing fire in the fireplace and champagne chilling. Drew poured glasses and toasted to their future. As the night progressed, he drew her close to the couch, his lips meeting hers. The kiss began gently, then became frantic as memories of their passionate reunion the night he was shot fled back. But something changed. A scent. The delicate perfume she wore that night mixed with wood smoke set things off. His memory flashed back to the creaking door. Footsteps, the silhouette of a lady he loved, and the raised pistol. Pain sprang up in his back again, phantom but vivid. He drew away abruptly, eyes wide. "Willow." His voice sounded raspy. What happened that night?" She froze, her face turning pale. "Drew, you're tired." "It's the wine." "No." He stood there pacing, hands in his hair. "I remember. I heard the ringtone." "Why a song?" "It was you. You were there. You shot me." The room whirled around. Willow's eyes welled up with raw, fearful tears rather than the theatrical ones from court. "I didn't mean. I was protecting the children. You were taking everything. Scout WY Amelia. You were controlling me, isolating me." I snapped. "I thought if you were gone." Drew gazed, betrayal etched across his face. "You let me defend you. You let me accuse Michael, my own family. You watched me suffer and you said nothing." I was scared, muttered her companion. I love you, Drew. I didn't want to lose you. Lose me? He chuckled sadly. You almost killed me twice. The fight lasted into the night with voices rising and falling. Drew sought answers. Why? How? And when had love become lethal? Willow revealed fragments. The dread of losing custody indefinitely and how Drew's political ambitions had overtaken him, turning him cold and manipulative. She had loaded the gun in a haze of desperation, and fired once. Then again, when he turned, she fled into the rain, her pulse racing, certain he was dead. Drew's rage gave way to something colder. Disgust perhaps, or the dawning understanding that he had helped create this creature. He had enticed her away from Michael, promised her everything, and then kept it just beyond of reach. I made you this, he explained quietly. But you chose to pull the trigger. Willow reached for him, but he backed away. Don't. Just don't. Dawn appeared gloomy and heavy. Drew packed a backpack and left Willow alone in the cabin. He drove back to Port Charles in silence, his mind racing. The memory was complete, clear, and merciless. He arrived at the Quartermaine estate where Tracy Quartermaine waited as the family sentinel. She had been vocal about her reservations about Willow from the outset, describing her as a cunning invader who had duped Drew into abandoning his origins. When Drew entered unkempt and hollow-eyed, Tracy's piercing stare softened for a brief moment. What happened? She inquired, her voice quiet. He told her everything. The getaway, the triggered memory, and Willow's confession. Tracy listened without interruption, her face masked. Suddenly, her eyes welled. Tears streamed down her cheeks, silent and unashamed. It was not just Drew's pain. It was also for the Quartermaine's family, which had been shattered once more, and for the circle of treachery that seemed to hound them. She had seen too many relationships turn toxic, and too many secrets shatter their fragile union. My boy, she murmured, bringing him into an embrace he hadn't experienced since boyhood. She gave you a taste of your own medicine, didn't she? All those times you manipulated, controlled, now it's come full circle. Drew cried softly on her shoulder. Tracy held him, the stern matriarch cracking just enough to see the heart underneath. She sobbed for her son, whom she had lost at his own goals, for the woman who had shattered him, and for the children caught in the between. The news spread slowly. Drew approached Willow when she returned, not in wrath, but with quiet finality. We're done, he said. The divorce papers will be served. And if you ever come near Scout again without my permission, Willow grumbled. She had gained her freedom in court, but lost everything else. Michael watched from a distance, conflicted. He was happy Willow's guilt had been. Drew saw at first in how people spoke more carefully around him, as if they weren't sure whether he was delicate or formidable. Now that his memory had returned, he left them wondering. He'd been underestimated for far too long. Treated as if he were made of glass. Clarity had sharpened him. Willow avoided him. When she did run into him at General Hospital, she kept her eyes down and her shoulders tucked inside as if shrinking might repair the damage. Drew did not pursue her. He did not need to. The truth had a way of following people even when they sought to avoid it. However, Michael sought answers. He found Drew in the Quartermaine study late one evening. The room dimmed save for the desk lamp which cast long shadows on old family portraits. She's falling apart, Michael murmured gently. Willow. Drew did not look up. So did I. Michael swallowed. I understand she made mistakes, but she didn't intend to hurt you. Drew finally addressed his gaze. Intent doesn't erase impact. The word struck a chord between them. I'm not asking you to forgive her, Michael explained. I'm asking you not to destroy her. Drew stood slowly, his movements methodical. I am not destroying her. I'm allowing her to face herself. That's not anything anyone allowed me to do. Michael nodded, perplexed. He adored Willow, but Drew's steady resolve conveyed a peaceful sense of fairness. I hope that's enough, Michael stated before departing. Drew did as well. Tracy launched herself into damage control, which meant facing people directly and challenging them to oppose her. She made a mess, Tracy shouted at Olivia in the kitchen. But so did we. And pretending otherwise won't make it better. Olivia crossed her arms. Are you defending Willow now? No, Tracy replied firmly. I am defending accountability. There's a difference. However, when Tracy was alone, the weight returned. She replayed every time she rejected Drew's uncertainty. Every snide remark and eye roll. Regret stuck to her like a second skin. She returned to Drew. This time with just honesty. I don't expect forgiveness, Tracy stated, standing close to the entrance. But I want you to know something. Drew paused. When you were lost, I assumed strength meant control. I thought I knew better. Her voice faltered. I was mistaken. Strength is listening even when it is inconvenient. Drew softened slightly. Thank you for saying that. This was not absolution. But that was a start. Tracy nodded and wiped her eyes. If you ever need someone on your side, truly on your side, I'm here. She meant it without reservation. Willow plummeted silently. She went to therapy because she used to believe that other people had greater needs than she had. She replayed discussions in her thoughts, noticing how she constructed narratives and convincing herself that her version of the truth was the only safe one. Na tried to contact her. So did Sasha. Willow declined each invitation. Shame had the ability to isolate individuals faster than anger ever could. One night, she sat alone in her living room, staring at a snapshot of herself and Drew from months before. She remembered how secure and certain she felt back then. I was wrong, she said quietly into the silence. And for the first time, she did not include an excuse. Drew felt a sense of remorse creeping in. He had not expected it. He expected remembrance to provide relief, perhaps even calm. Rather, it brought responsibilities. Knowing the truth required deciding what to do with it, he unexpectedly ran into Willow on the hospital's roof. She froze when she saw him, yet she did not flee. I'm not here to argue, she replied hastily. Or manipulate or explain. Drew waited. I just wanted to say that I see it now. What I did, what it cost you. Her eyes glistened with unshed tears. And I apologize without conditions. Drew scrutinized her expression, looking for defensiveness and strategy. He discovered none. I believe you, he replied. Willow's breath tightened. That doesn't mean you forgive me. No, Drew said gently. It means you're finally being honest. She nodded, her eyes welling up with tears. I don't expect anything else, Drew said again as she turned to go. The healing process is not linear. Willow halted and nodded gratefully before heading down the stairs. Later, Drew stood on the terrace of the Quartermaine mansion, watching the city lights flicker in the distance. Tracy joined him and silently handed him a tumbler of bourbon. You did what you needed to do, she added calmly. Did I? Drew asked. Tracy smirked slightly. You made others uncomfortable. That typically indicates the truth. Drew chuckled gently. Poor Charles dislikes mirrors. Tracy agreed, but it desperately needs them. They stood silently together, forming an unexpected alliance through sorrow and growth. Drew Cain's memories has not simply restored his past. It had given him his power back.